All blessings. The parsha that I would like to talk about today is Pekudei. But before I go into the parsha, it's really very necessary, and I will repeat it in different parshas that we speak about, to remind us that the nature of the Torah is like a hologram. Meaning to say, each piece of the Torah is meant to reflect a vast array of other things in the world. Each story, each kind of incident, it is a hologram of everything else that is happening in the world. Not only that, but there's an element within the Torah that is very much empowering of magic. Magic in a very fundamental, heart-opening kind of a way. The Torah is always seeking, like in that Zen story, or that Zen parable, it is like a finger pointing at the moon. It is not always saying that it is the moon itself, but it is meant to direct us in a certain direction, a direction of magic, a direction of the heart. In Pekudei, we come into one of the harder kind of parshas from the angle of today's way of thinking, because it deals so concretely with sacrifices and the things that we bring to the Mishkan, to the temple. It speaks, though, also of the ephod, the breastplate that the high priest wore, which was a magical shamanic instrument that the stones in it were understood to light up when he made prophecy. It talks about bells and pomegranates and that made music that were tied onto the end of the robes of the priests when they walked. It's very, very magical in this kind of a way. There are two things, though, that are aspects of the sacrifice that are not so concrete, not like bring a lamb or bring a dove, but are very, really quite changeable and mystic. One is fire, which we spoke about in the last couple parshas, and the other is the incense, the perfume. And I owe thinking about this in a deeper way to Aviva Zornberg, one of the great writers on the Torah who is living today. There is a way in which the production of and the use of perfume, of incense, is highlighted. And if we think about it in that holographic way, what does it relate to? There's a story, a midrash that comes from Shemot Rabbah, which says Moses was appointed by God to erect the Mishkan. Rabbi Isaac said this can be compared to a king who had a wife who he loved so much. But then he became very, very angry and upset, and he left her. And then he became remorseful, and he thought about it, and he communicated. He wrote to his wife and said, I'm going to be returning, if I may, and prepare yourself. So he showed up, and according to the midrash, when the day arrived, the king returned and became reconciled with her, entering her chambers, eating and drinking with her. And at first her neighbors would not believe all this, but when they scented the fragrant spices, they at once then knew that the king had become reconciled with her. When they smelled the perfumes that were mingling, they knew a reconciliation had come. What is perfume? It is the most moving of the qualities in the senses. It is an aspect of our senses that is so shifting. It is the only sense that is allowed to us on the high holidays, to smell a thing. It is connected both to our frontal lobe and to our most atavistic tendency. When we are able to smell a thing, we are able to look inside it on the deepest of levels. When we are able to scent, as it were, the inner aspect of a thing. There's a way in which, when that happens, all things are reconciled. My son, who you saw briefly in the last parsha, I was very angry with him, and I started to raise my voice, and immediately he ran over to me and threw his arms around me. and my anger completely melted away. Do we apply qualities like that to the universe? Does the universe have the ability to forgive? Does God exist in such a way, in that anthropomorphic way, as a king returning to the queen, as a reconciliation happening, as a gift of the incense of the perfume and the mingling of that deeper level, enough to help shift the universe? Does that magic exist in the world? Who can know? But I believe that in the same kind of way, in that holographic kind of a way, that my son who ran to me threw his arms around me in the moment of my anger, and my anger melted away, I also apply and see that the universe has a world, or is a universe of heart. As we do things to try to reconcile ourselves with God, so God, in that anthropomorphic way, that divine energy, comes to us and opens her arms to us. Only in this way is the universe able to be fixed. Only in this way is the universe able to be able to move in the direction of a true fixing.